Why avoidants treat options better than real love. You might have noticed it yourself, or maybe you've been on the receiving end of it. An avoidant treating someone as if they're a backup plan or just an option with more attention, charm, or care than they ever did when you were actually the real choice. This isn't coincidence, and it's not necessarily a conscious game, at least not in the way most people think. The truth is rooted deeply in the avoidant mind, where emotional intimacy triggers fear more than desire. When someone becomes the real choice, the person they are supposed to commit to, the one with actual expectations, emotional depth, and consistent closeness, the avoidant brain senses pressure, responsibility, and vulnerability, all of which are hardwired triggers for their nervous system. So instead of leaning in, they pull back. But with options, people they perceive as distant, temporary, or low stakes, they can be charming, attentive, and even loving. Why? Because no real vulnerability is required. There's no risk of being judged, hurt, or trapped. The avoidant can show affection freely, flirt, and even appear emotionally available because the real consequence of intimacy simply isn't there. It's a paradox that can feel maddening to those who care deeply. Someone you're invested in, someone who represents the real love, may get the cold shoulder, the delays, or the emotional games, while a casual acquaintance, a newer connection, or even someone just for fun gets the warmth, attention, and playful energy you always wished for. This behavior is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their comfort level with emotional exposure. Avoidants often subconsciously elevate options because options require almost zero real commitment. They can engage, retreat, test boundaries, and maintain control, all without the heartache that comes from closeness. In a twisted way, it's safer to pour energy into someone who's not actually available or invested because it keeps the avoidance world predictable and unthreatened. Another factor is the avoidance need to maintain freedom and autonomy, even within emotional relationships. The real choice comes with expectations, time together, emotional transparency, and often the subtle pressure of responsibility. To an avoidant, that can feel suffocating. But an option, someone who is distant, non-demanding, or easily detached, allows them to perform affection on their terms. They can send a text, flirt casually, or show attention sporadically, and it feels fun, exciting, and risk-free. The avoidance charm with options isn't about malice, it's about safety and control. They've learned often unconsciously that intimacy equals danger and distance equals safety. So naturally, the person who is closest to them, the one who matters, triggers fear and withdrawal, while someone farther away triggers curiosity, novelty, and playful energy. This dynamic also ties into self-image. Avoidants like to see themselves as independent, unbothered, and in control. The real choice demands compromise, vulnerability, and emotional honesty, all things that make them feel exposed. Meanwhile, options allow them to appear attractive, charming, and desired without ever risking their carefully constructed identity. It's not about the other person being less than. It's about the avoidance internal architecture. They treat options better because options don't threaten their self-image. They can perform love like a game, with minimal stakes, while the real choice becomes a mirror, reflecting back all the intimacy and closeness they aren't ready to handle. And here's the kicker. This pattern can actually intensify attachment for the person they treat as the real choice. Humans are wired to value what is inconsistent or scarce, and avoidants unknowingly exploit this. The more they pull away from the real choice, the more that person craves them, invests in them, and tolerates behaviors they wouldn't tolerate from others. The avoidant gets the emotional distance they crave while still maintaining attention, validation, and admiration on their terms. It's a masterclass in paradoxical desire. You want them, they want you, but only in a way that doesn't require emotional risk. So how do you make sense of it if you find yourself in this situation? First, understand that this is not personal. The avoidance behavior is a reflection of their fears, not your value. Second, notice the patterns. Options are always treated with ease, curiosity, and charm, while the real choice carries the weight of anxiety, withdrawal, or unpredictability. Third, set boundaries. The avoidant will rarely change unless the dynamic changes. By no longer accepting being less than or treated as an option, you create a new equilibrium, one where either they rise to the level of real connection or you remove yourself from the cycle entirely. And here's the beauty. The moment you stop chasing approval, the avoidance power over your emotions diminishes. You reclaim agency, and the paradox flips. Suddenly, they are the ones navigating your availability and attention, not the other way around. It's also important to recognize that the option versus real choice phenomenon is about energy management in relationships. Avoidants are often excellent at reading energy, detecting pressure, and responding in ways that preserve their autonomy. Options allow them to invest energy freely because the stakes are low. The real choice demands consistent emotional investment, which they perceive as risky. By understanding this, you can approach relationships with more clarity, compassion, and strategy. You can see the avoidant not as cruel or manipulative, but as someone operating from fear. This perspective doesn't excuse their behavior, but it empowers you to make choices rooted in self-respect and emotional survival. Ultimately, this dynamic teaches a critical lesson about love and attachment. Being treated as a backup or option is never a reflection of your inadequacy. It's a reflection of the other person's internal limitations. The avoidance behavior is predictable once you understand the mechanics. Closeness triggers fear, distance triggers charm, vulnerability triggers withdrawal, and low-stakes novelty triggers attention. By recognizing this, you can disengage from the emotional tug-of-war and prioritize relationships where reciprocity, availability, and genuine connection exist. When you stop tolerating being the real choice treated as less, you open the door for love that doesn't require sacrifice of your emotional dignity. So next time you feel like the avoidant in your life is somehow better with others or easier to be around when they aren't really committing, remember this: it's not you, it's them. Options are safe, choices are vulnerable. And the moment you understand that, you begin to see the world differently. You stop trying to win someone who isn't ready to play the full game of intimacy, and you start seeking relationships where being real, being consistent, and being emotionally present is valued and reciprocated. This awareness alone is liberating. It allows you to step out of the frustration, heartbreak, and confusion that often accompany avoidant dynamics and into a place of clarity, empowerment, and true connection. Thanks for watching. If you've ever felt like you're treated like an option rather than a real choice, remember, it's never about your worth. It's about their readiness for intimacy. Understanding this gives you power, clarity, and freedom to choose better for yourself. If this video helped you, hit the like button, subscribe for more insights into love and relationships, and share your experiences in the comments. I'd love to hear your story.